Welcome to the Founderz Lounge, where business meets bullshit and everything in between. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Founderz Lounge. We have a guest interview today, Miss Nikki Boxler. Nikki, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. To be honest with you, this is the first time we've ever met. I've never spoken to you. I've never met you. But Scott Volkortson, we had him on the show a few weeks ago. We've had him on the show previously. I've known Scott a long time. He is a great guy, probably one of the best guys I know, salt of the earth guy. And he texted me the very next night and said, you really need to reach out to Nikki and get her on your show. She's got an amazing story, a really unique and kind of a cool business. And I was like, yeah, great. Let's do it. So here we are. And I appreciate you taking the time.
No, thanks for having me. And shout out to Scott. He is like one of the best people I also know. So I hope I don't let you guys down with this interview.
No.
After all those kind words.
Well, why don't we start with just the origin story, who you are, and then kind of talk about the maple farmer.
Yeah. So I'm Nikki Boxler. I was born and raised in Western New York, and I grew up on a large dairy farm and maple syrup farm. So my family is very unique in that most people, when they think about New York, they always think about New York City, but we are from the opposite side. So kind of right outside of Buffalo, where I live in a county where there's more cows than people. So grew up on a dairy farm, worked there all through high school. Well, starting when I was like really little, feeding calves, and then all through high school, all through college. After college, I then moved away, worked at a financial firm in the city. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Don't be nervous.
No,
you're good. You're better than 99%. Just kidding, guys. You're good.
So I'm like stumbling over my words.
Yeah.
But so I moved to the city of Buffalo, not New York City, and worked for a financial firm there. And then I just quickly learned that is no place for me. And I just wanted to be back home on the farm. So moved back home, continued working on the farm. And then my family also has a safari park. Wow. Where it's open to the public. So you can come and see some exotic animals. So camels, zebras, wildebeest, ostriches, emus, very unique things. So I worked alongside my grandfather for many years, just raising babies that needed extra care. Got to actually take one on the Rachel Ray show.
Oh, that's awesome.
And also the CBS Today show, which is really fun. Navigating the city with a trailer and a wildebeest is a very unique experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we have the maple side, which is owned by my dad and my brother. So they have a larger maple production company. So worked doing that my entire life. And then just recently, last year, so October 1st of last year, so I think it's been 15 and a half months now, I started the Maple Farmer, which is like a little spin-off, and it's my own small-scale hobby production of maple syrup.
That's amazing. So your story kind of resonated with me, and my wife is not here, but she would, and I'm going to highly encourage you to get on her show as well. I think that you guys would really get along. Moving away, going back to corporate America, and then coming full circle back to the farm. That's kind of almost what we did. So my wife and I both were from Southern Illinois. She grew up on a farm, a cattle farm. I grew up out in the middle of nowhere, Southern Illinois. And we always swore we would never go back to the farm life, never go back to that. That's why we moved to the beach, right? Was to get away from that. And then 10 years later, we buy 300 acres of property and get our own farm animals. Kind of funny and ironic.
Yeah, see, that's the dream.
Yeah, we love it. We've kind of since turned it into a wedding venue and doing other things. So how did you, you said that your dad and your brother started the maple business. What made you want to do kind of like a spin-off business of that?
Yeah. So my dad has been tapping trees ever since he was a kid with his grandpa and then, with his dad. But he decided to turn it into a business in the early 90s. And so that's when it actually became a full-fledged, maple syrup business. We also still have the dairy farm. So he works on both sides still, and he's very, very active and involved in the day-to-day. He manages the entire milking side of their dairy business. So all the cows. And then my brother, kind of became part of the business as well. And I I was told at one point I'd be able to buy in, so I like kind of, saved for years and years. And then when it came down to it to buy in, I was told no.
Oh no.
So,
Well, there you have it.
instead of, putting all my sweat equity and like continuing to really build that brand, I figured I wanted something that I could own and pass on to my kids and grow with my kids. So that I kind of spun off and did the maple farmer, but I still help them. So
Sure.
I still help on that side, tapping trees. So I'm able to showcase on my content the large scale side of maple syrup, but also the hobby side, because here at my farm, I'm obviously starting from scratch. Last year was actually my first year tapping trees on my property. So I get to showcase and kind of bringing people along on that journey of building from the ground up, which is really exciting for me because I'm learning a ton, because small scale maple is nothing like large scale. So I'm like learning a ton, and people get to learn with me, which is really fun.
So before we get into the business startup end of it, which I'm very intrigued by, we're talking about tapping maple trees. I don't think a lot of people understand what that actually is. So explain it, what you actually mean by tapping trees and pulling syrup out of trees.
Yes.
I mean, I know it's
point.
self-explanatory,
process, yeah.
but what's the process look like?
Yeah. Well, first, actually, a lot of people don't realize where maple syrup comes from, because in the store, what a lot of people think is maple syrup is not real. That's actually corn syrup. So
Sure.
like, your Aunt Jemima, your log cabin, that's not real maple syrup. So the easiest way to tell real maple syrup is just to turn around the bottle, look at the ingredients list. If it says maple syrup, pure maple syrup, organic maple syrup, that is real maple syrup. There's only one ingredient in it, and it's maple syrup. So that's the first thing. So now where maple syrup comes from. So sugar maple trees are our northeast region of North America is one of the only places that they grow naturally, and that they have the climate with the deep freezes and the thaws in order to produce sap to make maple syrup. So when we tap a tree, we drill a hole in the tree, you insert a spout, which then allows you to collect the sap. So sap looks like clear water when it comes out of the tree. It's only about 2% sugar content, comes out of the tree, and then I take it, I boil it down, evaporate a lot of the water out, and that reduces the sugar in the sap, or concentrates the sugar in the sap, sorry. And so that's what caramelizes the sugars, concentrates them, and turns it into maple syrup. So out of the tree, it's about 2% sugar content, completely natural, nothing else is added to it. And it's just boiled down to evaporate all that extra liquid, all that extra water off to make maple syrup.
One question I have, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, and it wasn't obviously maple syrup country, but it was a big deal if you got to go see a tree get tapped, right? What's the process? Like, how long does it take from getting the tap into the trunk to actually being able to produce enough to say, okay, here's a bottle we can sell? Is there a time frame?
Not really. It kind of depends on your method and your evaporation system. But so when tapping the tree is actually pretty quick, it's a lot of manual labor though, especially if you have a lot of trees, because it's not a row crop. So you have to actually physically go walk out into the woods with all your gear. Here in Buffalo, we get a ton of snow. So you're usually trudging through, feet of snow. And then to tap the tree, you're just drilling, a hole in the tree. And so that part is actually very quick. And then once it's drilled and you start getting sap from the tree, which the maple syrup season is very short and it's all weather dependent. So it's usually only about 6 weeks long.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's your whole,
short.
is that your whole annual, sorry, keep going and we'll get into the
So we get
the
all of our
timeframes.
crop in like 6 to 8 weeks. That's our entire crop.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
It is. So we are collecting sap every single day, because the fresher the sap, the better the syrup's going to be. So every day you're collecting sap and then you're boiling it down. And now to put it into context, to make 1 gallon of maple syrup, it takes people like to say about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon maple syrup. But in reality, it usually takes, in the mid 50s, like 50, 54, 55 gallons.
I had no clue. When I'm just pouring that stuff on pancakes, I'm like, it's endless.
Well, at least that's where we are. Up like in Canada, they get a higher sugar content. So to figure it out, if you take, it's like they call it the rule of 86. So if you take 86 and divide it by your sugar content, so if you get a 2% sugar content, it'll take 43 gallons of sap. You know, if you have a 1% sugar content, it's going to take 86 gallons of sap, which towards the end of the season, we typically do get it closer to like a 1.2% sugar content. So, you know, it could be taking us 70 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup towards the end of the season.
I'm trying to sit here and rack my brain, and I don't know if I've ever had like real maple syrup. Maybe
my gosh,
maybe I have. I just
sent you some
It's
ahead of
different.
time.
It's different than the like Nikki was
I
saying.
mean, I can imagine there's a very, very vast difference in taste.
It's a little more tart
Yes.
or something. I don't know how to explain it, but it's
So the cool thing about maple syrup is I like to compare it kind of to wine because it has regional flavors, and even the taste will change from
That's cool.
producer to producer in the same region because of, you know, soils, climates, the trees themselves, the tree health. So maple syrup, depending on where you get it, what state, it's going to taste different, and, you know, from day to day. So it's never going to kind of be the same unless you buy like the store. When you buy real maple syrup from the store, those are you're buying from like a distributor. So they're buying from all the states,
Sure.
kind of blending it all together. So that's a more bland flavor. But if you're buying directly from a producer, you're getting all the flavors of that region and from that producer.
Is it easy to infuse?
It takes forever. It's not hard to do. It just takes a long time.
Yeah. That's wow.
Well, the other thing, like I've never heard anyone put it comparing it to wine, but you're right. Like honeys, or like you get different, taste palette or different, taste from various honeys.
Yes.
But do you have like within the industry, do you have people that are just maple syrup aficionados that try different region syrups like you would a wine and say, man, this tastes different. The profile on this one is different than that one.
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of competitions, and the biggest one is probably in Toronto. I think it's at the World Fair, where people, I guess, submit or enter their syrups. And our county has consistently actually like won that or placed highly. I don't even know how many years in a row for like as far back as I can remember. So we have like one of the best regions for making maple syrup, which is really neat. Because New York, awesome. Like not a lot of people think of like New York as maple syrup. They always think Vermont.
I think it's awesome.
Or Canada.
Yeah.
Especially now because people are starting to pay attention to ingredients and they give a shit where their food comes from and things like that. I think it's awesome. So you have this brand new, I'm going to call it a startup. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but a startup kind of passion project business. How do you attack like a growth plan? Or like when you're getting this thing off the ground, I'm asking for your product specifically. Like, do you just start out at farmers markets, or do you go to local markets and stores, or capitalize on relationships and try to go bigger? Because you just said the harvesting you got 6 weeks to get the majority of your inventory. So how do you plan for growth with that?
Yeah, so that is something I am navigating currently, because when I started like sharing online, I guess I wasn't really planning on doing products. I was just sharing the lifestyle because I love maple syrup and everything that goes with it. The woods just feels like home to me in every aspect of my life. So I was just sharing my love for the woods, and then more and more people just kept tuning in and then started asking me where they could buy it, where they could get it. And then I decided, you know what, maybe I should release products.
Yeah.
So I am expanding my own operation this year. So I will be tapping more trees to hopefully kind of fill that demand, because I released products it was Black Friday, actually. Black Friday for the first time ever, and I sold out within 2.5 days.
That's awesome.
Of everything.
That's great.
Yeah, so I only have some dark maple syrup left, but all my infusions and all my amber and everything is gone, because there's different grades of pure maple syrup. So this year I'm expanding, and I'm looking at possibly buying some sap from some neighbors as well that I can boil down. So that way I have more and I'm not going to be selling out, in just a couple days. So I'm working on that. But for me, my growth has all come, like everything that I have sold and done is all online currently. and specifically through Instagram and Facebook. That's kind of where my audience is. I have a YouTube as well, which I do have an audience there, but I haven't promoted any products or anything on YouTube. So
I think, didn't I just see your story today? I think this morning you were on a show.
Yes. Yeah, that just aired last night. So that was with RFD TV for I Am Farm Her.
I love RFD.
Yeah.
The rural. No, I'm not joking with you.
No, it's
Believe it
cool.
or not,
I
it's a
watch it.
cool. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's been like an incredible experience because, well, they reached out to me because they wanted to like tell my story. And so you'll see a lot of the large production side because I'm showcasing Boxler Maple more. Because I didn't launch my brand really yet. I like kind of started it, but I didn't have products or really launch it yet. So we're showcasing, the Boxler Maple side, the larger scale side. But then the craziest thing since I started the Maple Farmer, so my social media has grown on Instagram and Facebook in 15 months to over 130,000, I think, followers. I reached, like in the last 28 days, I think it was like 10.3 million in the last 28 days, which is wild. And the New York Times reached out to me, which like, I don't know.
That's the kind of PR that businesses that have been in operation for a decade want.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
Yeah. I have no idea what I did to like deserve this, but it has been incredible. And I am so extremely grateful for everyone that has been along on the journey with me. And that is like my number one thing. So more than focusing on growth, I'm focusing on customer service and just really appreciating and treating the people that have supported me just really well. So that's kind of growth, I think, will come with time and as I'm able to expand and reinvest in my business. But my number one priority is taking care of my customers.
That's what we talk a lot about that, Nikki, on the show is like kind of the whole mantra of do the right thing and everything will fall into place. And particularly with what you do, I don't want to call it a seasonal business, but your harvest is seasonal. And then, as you said, you sold out. So how do you make it so you can sell throughout the year when you only have a narrow window to produce what you're going to be selling? My question was, knowing all of that, and there are variables, I'd imagine, right? Weather can affect. How do you, this is probably a little technical, but how do you set price point for what you're selling? So the price point is actually kind of set by the large distributors that buy all the syrup, because there's only a few like large packaging companies, right? And so they typically kind of corner the market and buy all the syrup. So they're kind of the ones that set the pricing. So you pretty much just follow their lead and say, okay, then if it can yield this.
It's an industry standard probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it changes year to year based on the production from the year of what they will offer you. So, it can fluctuate from year to year. And then the grades, because there's different grades of maple syrup. So those prices also are set for each grade throughout for that year, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
And then I guess one last part of that question is seasonal help. Is it hard to recruit or, to tap the trees to get the yield that you're going to boil down? Like, what's that size of an operation look like where you're at now and where you'd like to be?
So for me personally, I can do everything on my own at like my small scale farm. So luckily I don't have to find help yet.
Good.
But where like my dad's operation, they have a crew. So there's like, 6 main people that help tap. So, me, my dad, my brother, and then a couple other people. And then we also hire some people on top of that. But as you know, with any industry, I feel like across the board, it is really hard to find reliable help that shows up, especially when it is seasonal. And I mean, not a lot of people want to like trudge through snow. So some people will come for a day and then they just don't show up again because they're so sore and they don't want to do it again. But so it is hard finding help. But luckily, like on my dad's side, we've been, using the same people for years now. So we have a really good crew on that side. And I'm hoping that when I get to the point where I have to hire some people, they kind of already know what I'm about, know my content, know my standards. So the people that do want to come help me already know the hard work that goes into it. So I don't have to like vet them as much. So that's kind of my hope as I expand myself.
Have you ever, this is going to sound like a weird question, but I'll explain it. Have you ever said no to growth because you wanted to kind of protect what you were doing a little bit? And I asked the same question. Do you remember interviewing Pete from Sisu Saunas?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I asked it. So, because like a friend of ours, Pete, he owns Sisu Saunas out of Ohio. And he was talking about a point where they said, you know what, we're not going to scale this business. We're going to take a step back and like make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. And it was an integrity thing, right? Yeah. And this is such a niche business also. Do you ever think about that and just say, you know, I want to grow this, but I don't have like an exponential growth goal, right? I want to keep it this because it means it means more to me to keep it this size than to grow it to this just to make money off of it.
Right. Yeah. And I was exploring the idea of possibly trying to get into like different retailers. But then when I took a step back and really thought about it, I think the value comes with putting your customer first, right? Like I said. So if you relinquish kind of your control over your product to, you know, a larger distributor, you don't have that connection directly to your consumer. And so like you can't take care of them like you can, you know, like I can now, where it's very personal. I literally am packaging, writing thank you notes for every single order. Like that is all me from start to finish. I am doing everything. So if you get maple syrup from the maple farmer, I mean, I'm every single touch point, right? From tapping the tree to collecting the sap, boiling it down, and packaging. So right now I just, you know, I have full control and it's very transparent about what I'm doing. And it kind of makes me sound like a control freak, but when I say that.
No,
which I'm not. I'm just not at the point of scaling yet.
Which I got to say, I mean, whether I'm accurate or not, I think it's very cool that you grew up around this. And I worked in a family business as well, using your family business as a springboard to create something new. Mm-hmm. Not just say, I'm just going to absorb into what's already there, but to learn from it and then create something new. To me, that's very compelling because you're facing the challenges of a new business with the experience of someone who's done this for a very long time. So it's got to be neat for you to see, like, how far can I take this thing, knowing what it's like to get there.
Yeah. And I've seen, so my family does a lot of like the bulk, you know, wholesaling to the distributors that then repackage. So I'm kind of taking my product and doing direct to consumer, but I've learned from them because I've learned everything about maple syrup from them.
Right, yeah,
but in terms of packaging, they do a little bit of retail or not retail, but direct to consumer. And what I've learned is like, I wanted to standardize the process, right? So all of my maple syrup is in one size bottle. So it makes packaging and shipping so much easier and more convenient because I know exactly if people order one bottle, what box it goes in, 2 bottles, you know, what box it goes in. I don't have to try to, with all the different shaped bottles, try to find different boxes and packaging. So I standardized everything. I put everything in glass. I'm not offering plastic or glass. And then I, you know, but my labels and branding are all very personal to me and what I really love, which is the outdoors. So I want to bring back, you know, that like nostalgia feel that people had making maple syrup and just connect people back with the land where their food comes from, but also just with nature and the different animals that you find when you're out in the woods making maple syrup. So that is a huge part of my life. I was like bullied really bad in high school. And so like nature was my happy place. It like saved me. So I just want other people to experience nature, especially with so many people on their screens now. I feel like they need to get outside.
Oh, totally. 1000%. So I have a question and I relate to this because one of our companies does the same thing, which is shipping, like e-commerce shipping products. how many did you fumble trying to figure that out, or did you kind of take things that your dad's company did, and was that fairly easy for you to figure out, or were you kind of like trial and error trying to figure it out on a smaller scale?
A little bit of both. It was like easier because, I helped ship on the other side. So I kind of knew a lot of the pain points. One of the issues with maple syrup is it is heavy and it's liquid, right? And then of course I chose to do glass instead of plastic, so which makes it fragile. But I think just being able to offer the one size bottle, like that's specifically why I chose just one size bottle, because I wanted to standardize everything, because the other side logistically and calculating shipping rates and boxes, and you have to keep so many different size boxes and all this stuff. It's a lot of inventory and it's a lot of overhead costs that as a startup, I don't really have, I'm like bootstrapping this thing from the ground up. So I don't really have the funds.
Yeah, I think it's very cool.
Inventory.
I love it.
I mean, the idea, again, I'm sorry, I'm beating a dead horse here. The idea that you came from an established business and chose and decided to a degree to start your own off of that versus just being absorbed into it is a very unique, and in that you're getting the brand, which is you, which people direct to consumers love knowing who's producing and making and delivering the product. So
no, totally,
the bootstrap thing is very impressive as well.
So getting back to the social media and personal branding piece, you are very, very involved in the outdoors. I mean, a lot of your content is outdoors, the hunting world, the shooting world. Talk about that first. How did that originate from being bullied in high school? Was that kind of an escape? How you got into that?
Yes. So I dove into farm life. So since when I turned 14, I started driving tractors, and I was just always in the field working. When I wasn't in school, I was working. I left school early. Like my junior and senior year, I would always just go in for as much time pretty much as I needed to graduate. And then I would leave and just go home and work. And so I just dove into farming. And my dad, I had him I went hunting with him when I was little. And then I wanted to, learn more about it. So I had him kind of teach me. And so I dove into the outdoor world, and I've just been involved ever since, because that was, like you said, that was my escape, my place that I could just get away from the noise and everyone and just kind of forget about everything. So, and it makes you, realize how small I guess you really are,
Oh yeah.
and just to, just take in all the beauty that really is around us. So and the other stuff is just, I learned, outside noise.
Absolutely.
Do you ever get involved? You may do this and I just don't know about it, but do you ever get involved in teaching other women specifically how to shoot and do different things with firearms?
Yes, I do. Yeah. And I'm actually going to be doing my first USPSA tournament this year.
Oh, there we go.
Our competition. So I'm very excited. Also very nervous about it, because I'm one of those shooters right now that just shoot at home.
Yeah.
So it's, I got a mini lesson last year. So I've been dry firing, practicing a lot. So hopefully I don't embarrass myself too much the very first one I go to. We'll see.
I love that. I've done a few. I don't have any real advice because I don't really have that much experience in it. Like I said, I only did 2. And the one issue that I had was just going too fast, just trying to race the gun versus really just slowing down and paying attention to the target.
Yes. So when I was getting my lesson, I was kind of learning, I feel like that, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't done one yet, but I feel like from my lesson, I felt like scoring was better when I went faster and just shot as opposed to really focusing, because it slowed me down a lot.
I mean, if that worked for you, it did not work for me. I was just trying to go as fast as I could and was just throwing rounds everywhere. But
yeah, your fast is probably still a lot faster than my fast. That's probably why.
I haven't done it in a really long time. It's been 2 or 3 years since I competed in one.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think
you're gonna get back into it.
I would love to. I want to. I probably will at some point. My thing is just time. I don't shoot as much as I used to, so having the time to practice and get more efficient, I just don't have it. That's why I haven't done one in a long time. I still hunt, very avid hunter, but the USPA stuff I haven't done in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I started hunting and I'm trying to get into the more, like pistol side. Well, I've been really into pistols for a while, but more of the competition side of things. Just, I think it's a fun pastime.
Yeah.
So.
Are you using 22s?
Yes. So 9 and 22. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. I want to do some 5-stand for sure this year as well. That's on my list.
I've always
And I don't know. Have you seen the I don't know. Can I? Okay. So Velcourts have made me this sick 22 black mamba. Have you seen it? It's the maple leaf. It's black and it has maple leaf Cerakote on it.
I mean, I've seen their 22. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, you got to check the one out. They did special for me. It's amazing. Yeah, it's custom, but I'll be using that one.
Is it on your Instagram?
It's the coolest paint job. Yeah, on my Nikki Boxler Instagram. So shout out to Scott and Velcourts again, because
those guys
it
are
is
so awesome,
the sickest, and it's so accurate.
Well, his philosophy, it's cool to hear people from the outdoor community on this show, because Don brings quite a few in for guests, and everyone has the same kind of vibe. I want to overserve the people that support us now before I try to expand. And Scott was the same way. It was and then you hear you say, well, listen, they made me a custom maple. It's just neat. That philosophy seems to be very instilled in folks that are serving that particular market. And one of the questions I was going to ask you, and it kind of goes back to Dawn's question, is do you use the farm for anything outside of maple production, or are you bringing people out there just to get used to it, kind of that agritourism industry side of things?
For my personal farm or my family's farm, or both? Your
personal. And I don't know, and I'm going off this without a context of how big it is and all that, but.
Okay, no. So I don't plan on bringing anyone onto my property, because right now my house is on my property.
Okay. It's a good point.
Good point.
Yeah. I don't really want people coming to where I live. But eventually I do want to expand and buy another property for just, tapping trees and making maple syrup. And then I would love to bring people in and open for Maple Weekend, which takes place the last 2 weekends of March. But I'd love to have people come in and see the whole process and experience it all, because I just think it's a great family tradition.
Right.
And I love seeing people outdoors and with their kids and their grandkids. It's just so wholesome, and I think we need more of it. So I definitely want to, in the future, expand to that.
It's, I have a friend up in Gettysburg who has a farm, and it's perfect for apple harvest season. And I'm pushing him, why don't you open it up? And he's same answer, man, my house is on there. I'm going to buy more land later. But I do remember as a kid in Western PA, we traveled to go to the maple season stuff, but it's a memory in my head right now where I can see it yesterday, because you realize as a city kid, this stuff doesn't come out of a bottle. It comes out of a damn tree. So you get a different appreciation for it.
Yeah. And I think that's what connects so much with my audience, is it's so nostalgic. And a lot of them have grown up either, helping do it, or going on field trips or going with their family just for the weekend or the day to see how it's made.
Right.
And it just really sticks with them because it is a really fun experience. So I think that's what really connects.
Is there a variable outside of weather, obviously, that's uncontrollable, that would be a hindrance to the process and the business?
It's mainly weather. That's the number one thing.
Yeah.
And then for tubing, storms take down a lot of tubing when trees fall. So windstorms, snowstorms, all that kind of thing. We don't have moose, but I guess in Vermont, moose is a big issue because they will actually run through the lines and take down the lines. Where around me, we just have white-tailed deer, and they just go under the lines or over. They don't bother them at all. But I guess moose is an issue in Vermont.
Yeah, I was going to ask kind of a similar question, Nikki, about, not to go in the negative direction, but diseases that could affect the tree. And then when that happens, if it happens, God willing, it doesn't, what's the time frame to regrow a maple? I'm assuming you're dealing with very mature trees or established trees. I don't know the industry, but are there certain things that you absolutely, from a tree management situation, have to just be on top of at all times?
Yeah. So there actually are Sorry, I just got a cramp in my foot.
Stomp it out.
I know, that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, so there are like different diseases and insects that can affect maple trees. So far, we've been really lucky to not have to deal with that. My family's farm is certified organic, so like you can't really spray. I mean, they could spray, but then obviously you can't be organic because there's a lot of different steps you got to follow for that. But in terms of like how old the tree needs to be or how mature they have to be, so they have to be 10 inches in diameter at breast height. And so that equates to about like 40 years old. Obviously, trees grow at different rates depending on where they are. So it could be older, it could be younger. But they like to say like the average is about a 40-year-old tree before you can tap.
So you're from a business standpoint, it's not like infrastructure that can be replaced to produce the product overnight. You're dealing with something that is established.
It really reminds me of
It's
the
crazy.
Christmas tree business.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. North Carolina is big with that
Yeah,
too.
that's huge.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
so we're not, I mean, if you're going to plant a maple tree, well, they grow naturally here, so we don't have to plant them. If you walk out in the woods in the summer and stuff, you'll see little saplings, growing everywhere, like thousands of them. But the majority of them die, right? Because trees crowd each other out. And so you just get, a few that survive. But yeah, it's not really something that, I guess if you do plant, you're planting for the next generation, hoping that they'll take it on. So you're just kind of gambling for your future generation. It's not really for you.
How long, this is probably a stupid question, but how long can they produce? So you want it at least 40 years old. And then like, what's your time frame with the tree to get good maple out of it?
Yeah. So, I mean, as long as it lives. Okay. So they say, I don't know, I don't live this long, so I'm not quite sure if this is accurate. They say a maple tree can live to about 300 years old.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow.
I believe between like 150 and 300, depending on the species of the maple tree. So like we tap a lot of red maples and sugar maples here because their sugar content is very similar. So it really, depends on the tree health immediately after the season. So we tap the tree, right before the sap runs, and then we pull spouts immediately after the season. So that way the tree has time to grow over old tap holes and heal and, really protect that tree health so it can keep producing a lot year after year. So, but I like to kind of compare it to giving blood. It doesn't hurt the tree. It, it'll like heal up. And you just kind of keep moving from where the old tap hole is. So you don't want to ever tap the tree in the same exact spot. But it kind of like partitions itself off where you tapped previously.
Have you ever had anything happen where you lost like an entire season's worth of crop?
Oh, no, not an entire season, thankfully. I have had things happen where like you're driving the truck and the sap tank breaks or something because it's, it was like plastic and the sap tank breaks and you lose all that sap from the woods. That's been rough. Yeah. I've had things like that happen.
That's, man, such a cool business, man. Nikki, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Friday morning and talking to us. I'm so intrigued by it.
I am too. We could probably go another hour just asking my ignorant questions about the maple business.
Yeah. Are you going to Winter Strong?
I am not. So I am actually like 35 weeks pregnant right now.
Oh, congrats.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I guess you're not going to go there and run around the woods then.
I know. I'm like, do I try it? I'll be like 38 at that point. I know there's some doctors there, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. So I figured it's safer to stay home this year.
Well, we're going to put all of your info in the show notes and the show description, but tell everybody where they can find you and find the business and things like that.
Yeah. So themaplefarmer.com for products and to learn a little bit more about me. And then you can also find me across social media platforms at The Maple Farmer and YouTube, just Maple Farmer. But that's awesome. About it. Oh, and Nikki Boxler, all my outdoor stuff is on. So I keep my outdoor, like my hunting and shooting things all separate because as we know, Instagram and Facebook does not really love that stuff. So I just figured it's better to keep the shooting sports and hunting sports separate than maple syrup.
It's a great, by the way, it's a great brand.
Yeah,
Just so you know,
I love it.
I'm a brand guy, and the fact that you were able to capitalize on the maple farmer is like, man, how did she get that? How did no one have, like, it's good stuff. And your personal
Right?
brand. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
That's what I said when I got it. I was like, how does no one have the maple
How-
farmer? Or
right.
maple farmer?
It's perfect. So kudos.
Awesome.
Thank
Nikki,
you.
thank you so much. It was nice to meet you. I'm definitely going to introduce you to my wife. I would love to see you guys on her show too. I think you guys would really get along great. But thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick.
No, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time.
All right. Till next week, guys.
See you guys.